Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Wrestle podcast. Oh boy, we're not even at the ladder match yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, NXT Takeover 30. What a spectacle. New champions, new rivalries, new budding feuds, and plenty to discuss. I am your host, Aeron, and joining me to discuss it, we've heard his voice already. You know who he is. He's our Kyle O'Reilly. He's diabetic. He's sexy. He's bearded. He's Kyle Wilkinson.
All I've ever wanted was to be Kyle O'Reilly, and now I'm like halfway there.
Yeah,
because I've got the beard, I've got the diabetes, but no, I'm not quite as sexy yet. But I'm working on it. So
that's all right. That's all right. When the gyms open properly, then both of us will be working on our chiseled physiques. Until then, we shall use our wit to excite you and arouse you as we discuss NXT TakeOver 30. Now, I know for a fact that Kyle Wilkinson was so sexy, he was in the shower during the opener, which is why I'm going to discuss Timothy Thatcher versus the world's most charismatic man, Finn Balor. I kid, of course. He is none of those things. Yeah, did you catch any of this?
Like I caught some of it, kind of like while I was getting the water at a nice temperature, but honestly, no. Like it's Finn Balor. I don't care. We've talked about it 100 times. It's boring as hell. I do not care.
Yeah. This match hinged on two things, really. How well would Finn Balor's style clash with Timothy Thatcher's style? Because obviously Thatcher, despite his mammoth size, is such a ground-based grappling competitor. Yeah, I have a couple of hot takes. First of all, one that everybody knows. Finn Balor is so boring, and his matches are so boring. Now, I thought this match was very good. However, it's very slow-paced, very ground-based. I expected that. I expected more MMA fare from Timothy Thatcher, especially. Anyone who knows Thatcher knows he's all about the ground game. I like Thatcher because his matches feel very real. I love that. I am a big stickler for I like modern styles. I like luchador styles. I like every kind of style of wrestling, but I want it to have a purpose. I want it to have a meaning within the match and the storytelling aspect of said match, not just a shit ton of flips thrown in. Looking your way, Matt Jackson. And Timothy Thatcher, for me, personifies this. No wasted motion, no wasted movement, no wasted thought process. Everything builds to an aspect. He works on he dissects his opponents. And you hear that term so much. People talk about, Randy Orton dissects his opponents. No, it's so overused and so underappreciated. With Timothy Thatcher, it's bang on. This match was excellent. Finn Balor combated his style very well. However, for me, first of all, Finn Balor isn't over. I don't understand this, right? People act as if Finn Balor is this huge megastar. It's Finn Balor, here comes the demon. He doesn't draw any money. He doesn't cut good promos. He looks $1 million, no question. And he wrestles very well. But he's also very, very boring. He is, for me, the quintessential NJPW mid-carder. Brilliantly technical, well-defined, obviously incredibly well disciplined, a real credit to the sport of professional wrestling. But is he a superstar? Is he an entertainer? Is he charismatic? Is he a character? Is he a storyteller? For me, not really. Very little. And when I think back to all the great moments that he has had, normally he's been opposite somebody who is all of those things that he is not, and that's helped elevate the match and elevate the persona and the personality of said match. Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, even with the rivalry with Bobby Lashley, Leo Rush did a fair job. But ultimately, guys like Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, those guys helped carry those rivalries. I don't see much of a future for Finn Balor other than being that good guy over there who you can count on to deliver a decent match. Timothy Thatcher, on the other hand, might have something more. So Timothy Thatcher losing is a big mistake. That's pretty much all I have to it. Any thoughts?
I mean, I kind of wish I saw the match because I haven't seen much of Thatcher. Like, I know he had that weird match with Riddle, and that sent Riddle to SmackDown. So I'm interested to see the guy, but I was just not interested enough to watch a Finn Balor match to do it. So hopefully I can try and watch NXT more regularly to see this guy, but I mean, I'm sure the match was fine, but it's Finn Balor, man. I don't care enough for it all. I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, it bugged me. It did bug me. Now then, on to the first championship match of the evening. A 5-way ladder match to decide a newly crowned North American champion. Of course, Keith Lee rescinded the belt, which I hate, by the way, because you earned it, you won it, and just because you're a double champion, he should have at least dropped it for me. That being said, this is a fantastic idea. It's a fantastic match. You know you're going to get a certain level of quality, particularly when it comes to NXT guys, because they're just willing to do that little bit more, I feel, than main roster guys to get the premise of the match and the gimmick of the match over. So, Cameron Grimes. Absolutely amazing. Very excited about this guy, the Carolina Caveman. Bronson Reed, formerly known as Jonah Rock, of course, from the Indies. World-class independent performer. Really shined in this match, as I'm about to speak about. Damian Priest, looking like the next kind of power guy. You know, they're really building a great Hoss division, and he looks like he's settled in very nicely in the middle of that. Johnny Gargano. He is NXT's answer to Daniel Bryan, the everyman, the great promo, the great look, the great underdog. Even though he's a heel right now, Johnny Gargano is the guy. He is the guy. If you need a world-class match, Johnny Gargano, for me, actually, I think he's more apt, for an analogy, as the Kurt Angle of NXT, young Kurt Angle, because he's that guy who just does a little bit of everything. But when it comes down to the actual match and the work rate, there isn't anyone better. He's so good. And then, of course, some fuck nugget called Velveteen Dream. The Rage Clicker, apparently, which will be his new name.
Oh, that was so dumb.
Yes, it was dumb, but I'm not addressing it on the podcast. Fuck that person. At the end of the day, Velveteen Dream, there are allegations, there are investigations. Some people believe he's innocent, some people don't. Either way, highly polarizing, highly suspicious putting him in a match like this where, frankly, he didn't need to be. That being said, the match, fucking phenomenal. Car crash ladder match, as you would expect. Some little bits of storytelling, but mostly just crazy ass spots and stunts. And I can forgive that in a match like this, even though I'm a stickler for keeping it real and keeping the storytelling. One thing that sticks out of my mind more than anything else in this match, and it's the little things that I love. Cameron Grimes goes to hit Velveteen Dream with the ladder. He goes, Velveteen! And as he moves out of the way, he kind of misses him, and the ladder gets jammed into the other ladder, setting it up for a later spot. I love that. Instead of just making some ridiculous Meccano set with ladders, he actually went out there and devised this idea of how would the ladder end up there. He told a tiny little story there of how the ladder got there, not just, I'm just going to set it up so that somebody can powerbomb it later. Crazy spots in this match. Velveteen Dream quite literally flying 5,000 meters out of the ring off a ladder through tables and then just disappeared. It was never seen again. Ironically enough, what I imagine some people would probably wish was the case in reality. Johnny Gargano, you know, the sunset flip powerbomb, oh my lord, onto the ladder was... Jonah Rock, obviously. Candice LeRae got involved as well. Jonah Rock, Bronson Reed. I'm such a stickler for the indie boys. Carrying Candice on his back and doing that big old splash off the ladder. Phenomenal. Some really great moments, some really great spots. Ultimately, Damian Priest comes out as your new North American champion. I had one thing on my mind going into this match, and that was... I did not want somebody who has already been in a prominent position to win this match. I wanted someone fresh, exciting, somebody who can be pushed forward as a bigger superstar, can use this as an elevation, as a platform to be even better. And I got that. My personal two favourites I wanted to win this were Bronson Reed or Cameron Grimes, but I'm okay with Damian Priest winning. Your thoughts on the match, mate?
Actually, Damian Priest was my top pick. I've really liked what I've seen from this guy. Everyone knows I love Johnny Gargano. I don't love his new theme music. I think it's just terrible. because I just miss Rebel Heart because it was just so easy to just pelt out when you're having a rough day. But this match, man, it was, like you say, it was just a fucking car crash. When Gargano tries to hit like his springboard DDT and he used the ladder because Bronson Reed's head was in it. I'm not sure how that was supposed to work out, but it still looked really, really cool. Another big spot for me is when Priest, when he ran up the ladder and like did a big old senton on top of everyone. I'm sure a lot of people are going to bitch and moan because you just saw Grimes hanging onto that ladder for dear life just to stabilize it. I didn't fucking care because that spot was hella cool. And now he's the champion. Priest was hanging out in a hot tub. The picture, the picture Triple H does with people when they first win a title.
Yeah, it's good.
He just went out to the hot tub with Priest and Brandy Lauren and whoever the other incredibly hot girl was, and just gave the little point while he's in the hot tub. Oh, Trips. Oh, Daddy Trips, just look at you. Trying to be cool in your 50s.
That's going to be me, I think. Like, I'm not going to criticise too much. I can see myself at 50 in my leather trousers jumping into a hot tub with two ridiculously hot women and thinking, I have failed so much as a man.
No, I feel like that's a success. I don't know, maybe...
Yes and no. I don't know, maybe because my barometer is... I don't know, I just don't want to be creepy old guy, and also particularly when one of the guys in this match is kind of parading as that, allegedly. It's all a bit murky, but yeah, nonetheless, check it out on social media. Go to Triple H and WWE NXT's thing. We all know that every time somebody wins a belt, Triple H has his, obligatory, haha, look at me, I'm taking all the credit for all of this success because I own NXT, because I'm NXT's daddy, which is fine to a certain extent. This is by far and away his best photo because Priest is like, yeah, I'm in a hot tub. It's so much fun. I really enjoy it. The only thing that I want to see from Damian Priest going forward, a little bit more charisma, a little bit more character. I like his actual character in ring and a presentation, but I want to see some more promo stuff, Kind of push him a little bit more in that regard because I feel like there's more there. But I think it's a good choice. I really do. And I think he's really grown very quickly. When he was Punishment Martinez in Ring of Honor, I was very, very iffy about him. I thought, he's all right. He didn't... Some guys, I've made this argument before on the podcast for anyone who might remember as a long-term listener. For me, when you come from the indies to WWE, a lot of times it can take a shine off of you because especially if someone like me, where you're a big fat mark for the indies and you've been watching indie wrestling your whole life as well as WWE, watching Ring of Honor for so long. I mean, Ring of Honor was where I really got an introduction into, the real in-depth technical wrestling, guys like Daniel Bryan and Doug Williams and Amazing Red and all these different styles. And obviously that evolved through the years into different companies like the British independent scene that we were so lucky to flourish in for so long until recently, and other things as well. But sometimes when you go from the indies to WWE, you just feel like they lose a bit of their luster. They felt like a big star. They felt like a big fish in a small pond. They get to WWE, they're the proverbial little fish in the big pond, and they just kind of go missing. They get lost in the shuffle. For me, case in point, probably one of the biggest examples, Finn Balor, who I mentioned earlier. It's not terrible by any means, but I feel like he's very much lost in the shuffle. That's what makes, for me, Johnny Gargano so special. Because he was not the biggest star in the indies. He was a good star. Same as Tommaso Ciampa. Some guys just work well in this system. And Punishment Martinez, aka Damian Priest, he's arrived in WWE, and I thought, who cares? And now I do care because he's been able to flourish the right way. Some of these guys actually benefit from this system, Damian Priest being one of them. I'm really excited for him. Lovely as well to see Bronson Reed have such a big showing in this match. I feel like all the other guys have had some sort of good showing coming into this. Bronson Reed is the guy where everyone's like, yeah, he's cool, but whatever. And obviously, I was one of his biggest fans. I keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. I got to see him in person in front of about 200 people wrestle Volta in a red hot room in Brighton once for Riptide Wrestling. It was an insane matchup. He even beat Volta with Frog Splash from the top rope, which was just amazing. I think he's so good. And he's a lovely guy as well. I've met the guy a couple of times. Really fucking cool. I really am high on Bronson Reed. And him coming out with a tribute to Bam Bam Bigelow, There was a Scott Steiner tribute from Velveteen Dream. Also, I believe there was a tribute to... Who was the other? Priest had a... what was it? Razor Ramon, that was it. He had the tribute. The bad guy. Say hello to the bad man, eh? Great stuff. Really liked it. Really appreciated it. Everything just came together nicely. Really liked it. Any final thoughts on it, mate? Or should we talk about the biggest eyesore on this card?
Just to kind of continue with the tribute thing, Bronson Reed did have a tribute to Bam Bam.
Yeah, that was very emotional for me because when I was a kid,
I really like that.
Bam Bam Bigelow was my favourite power wrestler. And I used to think he was amazing. And everyone used to say to me, he was just a fat piece of shit and whatever. And, I remember him having this incredible match in his hometown of Asbury, Asbury Park, New Jersey, against Taz, the famous one where the ring imploded. And I just feel like Bam Bam Bigelow's legacy is not appreciated nearly as much as it fucking should be. He should be in the Hall of Fame if he's not already. I don't believe he is. And seeing someone like Bronson Reed go out there with the Bam Bam tribute and that, and also someone like Shayna Baszler tweeting about it, talking about how important he was on her Twitter account while she's watching this. I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's really cool. I think it's so good to know that some of these guys, they're not just in it because it's a job for some of these people. It's their life. It's their passion. And, you can just tell that, obviously, Bam Bam would have been a really heavy influence on an amazing power guy, Bronson Reed, who some people might argue is kind of the evolution of Bam Bam Bigelow in so many ways. So it's very cool to see. Right in the middle of this card, Adam Cole. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Cole, baby, arguably the greatest NXT superstar of all time. Most definitely one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent male champion they've ever had. Against former NFL punter and talk show host and celebrity Pat McAfee. This build-up was, alarm bells rang immediately, didn't they? We all remember Adam Cole going on Pat McAfee's show and kind of, they presented it as a shoot and he's swearing at him and telling him to go fuck himself because he was insulting his, body of work and things like that. We all know it's a work. We all kind of felt like it was a work then. We certainly know it's a work now. Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole. Obviously, going into this, I wasn't happy. I don't like celebrity interaction or pro-athlete interaction too much. I know it worked with, ironically enough, Bam Bam Bigelow against Lawrence Taylor, which main evented, if you can believe it, WrestleMania once. But for me, I do always think, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. And I don't mind if it's a smaller guy. We saw Stephen Amell have a great showing once at a SummerSlam. He tagged with Neville, now known as Pac, of course, against... it was Wade Barrett and someone else. Oh, Cody, that was it. Stardust.
Which whatever.
Yeah, and I know you've got a massive hard-on for Stephen Amell, and that's fine. So I always look at these matches, and I gauge them against other celebrities. And for me, for so long, I feel that Stephen Amell was the pinnacle. I feel like he was the peak of what you could do as a celebrity. He was the guy who turned up, and I thought, do you know what? That was actually good enough to be on a show, and for that, I respect that. And he had a match with Christopher Daniels as well, I believe. Was it All In? For AEW's...
It wasn't AEW, but I just don't remember
the major.
One, yeah.
It was the first, All In, which was their first ever kind of major pay-per-view. Could the indies sort of provide something better? And that was the catalyst for AEW. I've seen Floyd Mayweather, to be honest. I thought Floyd Mayweather Jr. had the best celebrity match for me against the Big Show. I thought it was really entertaining, really fun, great build, great violence, a ridiculous amount of shenanigans. It was good fun for me, really entertaining. So all eyes on this. Now, the one thing I did know going into this, and I should preface this for anyone who maybe doesn't know, famous wrestler and wrestling mind Rip Rogers has actually trained Pat McAfee for a number of months, actually. Pat McAfee has always been very serious about wrestling. And I didn't want to be happy about the fact that, I didn't want to watch this and, I wanted to see McAfee look like a twat and get battered. I think most of us did. We weren't expecting him to put in a performance like this. And I have to kind of bite the bullet and say, Pat McAfee was fucking amazing in this match. He cut great promos in the build. I think he's actually legitimately one of the better heels they've had in recent memory. And obviously, he's got a world of support in that because he's from a different world. Beth Phoenix really played into it nicely. This idea of like, you know what, you come in, you insult my world, fuck you, I'm not even going to talk about this, and leaving the commentary position and whatever it may be. This match was phenomenal. Pat McAfee got to show off not only his ability, he can actually wrestle. Fair play to you, sir. He's ridiculously athletic. And the funny thing is, he doesn't look that athletic. And anyone who knows NFL like I do and American football, I love American football, as everyone knows. I'm obsessed with it. Punters are good athletes, but they're by no means the stars. You know, punters are like sort of, you know, only second only to kickers, I suppose, in terms of the, you know, the pussy brigade or whatever you want to call it. Proper, like, you know, Southern American football fans are like, punters and kickers are fags. You know, they're their kind of people. I don't obviously agree with that, but, you know, punters are not the high-impact athletes that you see. They're not the wide receivers. They're not, you know, the incredible guys. But they do still have to be performance athletes, high-performance athletes. His bumping was great. His moveset was great. His storytelling was phenomenal. He was a great in-ring talker. And it was all punctuated by the fact that obviously Adam Cole worked his fucking arse off to help this guy look as good as he could. And I think actually the two of them put together something really fucking cool in an isolated moment. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Pat McAfee working as a heel if he's got the time, if he's got the ability, if he's got the wherewithal to do it, if WWE are willing to invest that time and help him invest in his wrestling ability a little bit more. He didn't look particularly out of shape. You know, he's quite a big guy as well, much bigger than Adam Cole. Admittedly, Adam Cole is not a huge guy, which ironically is what most of this rivalry was built on, but got to say, really impressed. Some crazy spots. McAfee backflipping off the top rope, land on his feet. Insane. One of my favourite spots, actually, which people won't talk about, was when he took the backcracker and he fucking launched himself up in the air to take it. And not many guys even do that.
That was so gnarly.
And that's really cool because for anyone who's I've taken one of those in training, they're horrible. There's no real way to, you know, fake those. You just hope that you land in the right way. And the guys have got knee pads on, you know, and you just land on their knees. And he just fucking launched himself into it. He threw his whole heart and soul into this match. And I think I have to respect that. And as somebody who is, you know, a fledgling trainee who's had a few matches on some very small indie promotions, I honestly was in absolute admiration. I thought, wow, you know, that's cool. Fair play to you, mate. You obviously work very fucking hard, and I think everybody should tip their cap to Rip Rogers, who obviously did an amazing job, as you would expect. He's fucking Rip Rogers. Come on, man. By the way, if you don't know who Rip Rogers is, I'm not going to fucking educate you right now on how stupid you are for not knowing who he is. Go and Google him, and then come back to me when you realise just how special he is. He's done an amazing job, and I enjoyed this. If you want me to rate it from a celebrity spectacle, this was the most entertaining match of the night. It was absolutely brilliant. Fair play to both of you, especially Adam Cole and Rip Rogers, but also to Pat McAfee, because I was ready to give this guy the shredding of a lifetime, but I don't really have anything bad to say about him whatsoever.
Yeah, this is... I almost want to say this is the best celebrity match I've ever seen. Like you said, everyone knows I love Stephen Amell, I love Arrow, I love the whole Arrowverse and all that. But some of the stuff McAfee did tonight, like you said, the backflip, fucking lands square on his feet, and then makes the vertical leap to the top turnbuckle. I think Cole kind of like grabs him like a little bit, but the man just I'm not sure how high the ropes are from the canvas, but I could probably barely make the second turnbuckle if I really wanted to. But this guy just fucking springboards to the top and then hits Cole with a nasty superplex. Like, this guy worked his ass off. It always takes, you know, two to tango, and Cole made him look like $1 million. But this guy just, like I say, he put in the work. He put in the effort. He put in the time. And we got something really, really special here tonight. I was blown away, honestly. I just, like I said, I wanted to hate it. I wanted to go, man, what the fuck is this? Adam Cole was the longest reigning NXT champion, and now he's wrestling some ex-NFL punter or kicker. I don't watch football. I don't know, nor do I particularly care. And this was great. I had a whole lot of fun watching this. I thought McAfee sold his ass off. Like when he got hit by that Panama Sunrise, it just looked like he died. I was actually a little worried when Cole went for the pin. McAfee was really close to the ropes. I thought he was going to like reach in. People were going to go, "Oh my God, look at his ring awareness." But he didn't, and I thought that was actually a really cool little bit of storytelling because he's not experienced enough to know to go, hey, maybe I should grab the ropes from this match was so much fun, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I think I should have.
Yeah, the one thing that really stands out to me from this is that Pat McAfee clearly loves and respects the business, and I think anyone who... we're very vicious when we want to be, and me especially. I've always got hot takes, and I will come down on anything like a ton of bricks if I don't like it. Nothing but positivity. Really impressed. Really, really blown away by what Pat McAfee did, and also the work he put in. Loved it. Even the little promo where he sat on the box, with his boys beforehand. He's like, "Let's do the thing. Play my music." This is a guy who's clearly watched wrestling his whole life, and has clearly picked up on the traits and the needs. And obviously he's had that polished and, performed. I saw some people tweeting saying like, "Oh, not bad for a few weeks training." To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's been training for a long time. I have it on good authority that Britt Rogers trained him for quite a long time, and not recently either. So I think that Pat McAfee has... he's done a lot here, and he's clearly very passionate about wrestling. And let's not forget, just because you're doing backstage stuff for WWE doesn't mean you don't have the time to go down to an independent wrestling school and be trained like he did. So, for all we know, he could have been building up to this. It showed. His bumps were very crisp. His selling was good. Literally the only nitpick I have is that he seemed a little bit too aware that Adam Cole was building up to hit him with a Panama Sunrise. He was kind of sitting on the floor looking at him and shaking his head as if to say, "Shit, I just lost." And he just didn't seem that out of it for a guy who was about to take the finish. But you know what? That's a tiny nitpick, and frankly, not really deserving of what an amazing performance it was. Fantastic. And you know what? A good place to put in the card, actually, because right after this was the match that I was most excited about. I thought it would be the main event, but it wasn't. It was this one. Since this podcast has begun, I have been begging Dakota Kai to slide up in my DMs. It's a joke, obviously. I don't want Dakota Kai to slide up in my DMs, but I do. Sure? I do, but I don't, if you know what I mean. I don't want it to be done in a creepy way. Let's just say, basically, for me, Dakota Kai is so beautiful, so talented. But most importantly, I've always believed she has the potential to be a main event level star. I do. I think she's got the look. I think her physical prowess as a wrestler is so underrated because she's a bit smaller and a bit prettier. People think, "Oh, isn't she cute?" Oh, when she was with Tegan Knox. Name me a better turn since Mark Henry than her turning on Tegan Knox and smashing that cage into her leg, because it was ferocious and also quite haunting. I loved it. And ever since then, she's been on this tear as this obnoxious, disgraceful heel with an attitude and a problem. And then she adds Raquel Gonzalez to the mix, and I think that's been fucking great. And then we finally get to this point where she challenges Io Shirai, who is, without a shadow of a doubt, a shining example of just how fucking amazing Japanese Joshi women's wrestlers are. The strong style women's wrestling is so good. So special. I'd much rather watch it than the men's. I don't have a problem saying that. I said yesterday, while watching SmackDown, ironically enough, that I believe that the women represent the company as better champions than the men do right now. And Io Shirai is a shining example of that. That being said, I was all about Team Kick. And of course, I was slightly let down as Io Shirai retained in what was ultimately an excellent match. A fantastic credit once again to women's wrestling. I don't hate the fact Io Shirai retained. For me, it's just a case of I know that after this, it's very unlikely Dakota Kai is going to get another opportunity. And if she does, it won't be for a long time down the line. But it was a great match. I loved it. Very minimal mistakes, very smooth, very physical, except for Io Shirai head planting herself right at the beginning. Luckily, it didn't ring her bell too much from what I could tell, because she seemed to be pretty clairvoyant for the rest of the match. So yeah, I thought it was great. I loved it because it proved to everyone what I believe I've been saying for 3 years now, that Dakota Kai is a main event level star. But it also just reinforced how good Io Shirai is and how good Japanese women's wrestling has been. The imprint that Japanese women have left on wrestling in the last year especially has been nothing short of phenomenal. You know, from the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka, of course, being a standalone champion, Io Shirai being champion here, Hikaru Shida taking the reins of the women's division in AEW, not to mention all the incredible love and passion that the women in Stardom and Shimmer and Women of Wrestling and Rise have put in, and all the independents and things like that. Women's wrestling has just been on this incredible trajectory for so long now, and it feels like finally people are paying attention to the Japanese side of it just as much as the North American and the general Western world, their side of it too. I really love this match, and I also really enjoyed the little kind of confrontation between Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley at the end, because it just showed, oh yes, you know, in that one moment, Raquel Gonzalez went from being Dakota Kai's lackey to instantaneously the powerhouse, the mean bully on the block that was being squared up to by the big face. It just, everything worked so well. Great storytelling, and everyone around this whole premise, just, they all look like amazing, colourful, powerful superheroes, superstars of their sport. A real credit, once again, to women's wrestling.
Absolutely. I mean, this match was probably my favorite of the night, if I had to choose one. Like, the main event was incredible, and we'll get to that. But I enjoyed this match from bell to bell. It was just so much fun. Io Shirai is heading this division so well. I know this was her first defense as in your house? It might have been.
Yes, it was. Yeah. She won the title in your house, didn't she, against Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair? I want to say in the Triple Threat.
Yes, because she hit like a big moonsault off the house or something, didn't she? Just because you had to.
As you do, yeah. She did that big splash and she hit the moonsault that won. I think she like dropped her feet square on Rhea Ripley's face or something. And also she followed suit by almost leveling poor Raquel Gonzalez on the outside with a beautiful moonsault. But hey, that's part of the game. It's wrestling. Deal with it. And
it is,
yeah, this was her first major title defense since then, and it was phenomenal. And we're obviously building a great reputation and a great long-level title reign for her.
This is what I want AEW's women's division to be. This is the level I want them to be at. And it seems like they're doing a little bit of that. We'll talk about that on another show. But this was NXT's women's division has always been fantastic. It's exactly where like the whole revolution in air quotes started. If everyone ignores the fact that TNA was doing a bunch of stuff in like mid to late 2000s, if you just ignore that, WWE's done everything with the women, and don't you people forget it. But it doesn't matter how we got to where we are now. Fact is, the women are putting on incredible matches each and every night. Most of them potentially more athletic, more violent, just so much more fun than the men's. And for NXT, Io Shirai is the pinnacle of that. And I'm so excited to continue watching this title reign.
The more I watch this stuff, the more I realise AEW has no fucking excuse, and their apologists and their fans have no excuse to defend what has frankly been ridiculously subpar by comparison. And I know that Dynamite ran parallel to this show, and I will pick up on that later on another podcast, maybe have a little discussion about that on the State of Wrestling address this week. Not a problem. Thought it was a good show. From what I could see, some really good decisions. Obviously, bringing in some more exciting talent to help bolster that, and a little bit of a crossover going on with another company, which sounds very exciting. But that doesn't shine away from the fact that in the build-up to that, it's been frankly trash, pretty woeful, pretty garbage. I've always maintained that AEW's women are working as hard as they can, but they are given, frankly, garbage to work with. They're given scraps, and there's only so much chicken salad you can make out of chicken shit, particularly when the pile of chicken shit is so big that you can't even see over it. And the reality is that on the flip side of things, NXT has just been lights out, world class, and the match quality lives up to it as well. The main event. Karrion Kross finally gets his opportunity At the limitless Keith Lee for the NXT Championship. This is the big collision. This is the big Hoss collision. What did you think, mate? Did this live up to your standards? Did this live up to the hype for you as the big one, the big main event for NXT TakeOver 30?
It had a real big main event feel for sure. The way they've built up Karrion Kross has been nothing short of perfection. I've said it 100 times. I don't watch NXT live every week, but I always try and keep up on what they're doing with Kross because he is just that fascinating. He just destroyed Ciampa backstage. He murders Dijakovic in front of Keith Lee, like smashes his head in the stairs or whatever it was that he did that and they showed the promo package at the start. This guy feels like a monster. And to fight a monster, you need a super strong babyface. And you have that in Keith Lee. Like, him dethroning Cole was huge. And now he comes in to his first title defense. And they kind of... This is where it gets complicated, right? Because they've got this incredible champion that they've built up over time. And they've got Kross, who they've built up in about 2 weeks. I mean, it's more like, 4 or 5. But they just built him as this unstoppable machine. So there's only one correct outcome here. And thankfully they went with that. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new NXT champion. And I'm terrified, but kind of aroused at what Karrion Kross and Scarlett are going to do next.
Yeah. So, first of all, Karrion Kross being champion, perfect. Absolute perfection. As Killer Kross in TNA/Impact, I was so high on him, and I'm very proud. I know I just sound like I'm putting myself over. Do you know what? That's because I am. Because I fucking saw from the get-go this guy working in places like AAA, working for Impact, working on the Indies. He just screamed superstar from the get-go. His cadence, his promos, the way he carried himself was astonishing like no other. And even when he got the boot from Impact for, whatever nefarious nonsense was going on there, contractual issues and obligations, you just knew that wherever he went, he was going to supply something special. And for the longest time, I thought, oh, God, I must have him in AEW because like a fucking sweaty mark, I thought, no, Vince McMahon will get his hands on him and he won't do well by him. But NXT have been masterful, and Karrion Kross is... Do you know, he reminds me of Bray Wyatt, not from character, but from that spirit of wrestling and that creative control. Let him be who he wants to be. Let him put his spin, let him insert his personality, let him inject his psychology into whatever he does as a storyteller and as a performer, and he will provide you with something truly special. And I said this to you during this match, and obviously Scarlett Bordeaux, good Lord, in every sense, absolutely scintillating, but also oddly terrifying in her current role. And I really enjoy that because it's not just about the smoke show. She's got everything going on. The psychology and everything that goes on, I just think it's so perfect. And I feel that we have the superstar that I said we could have from the get-go. And that's all on Karrion Kross for being so fucking incredible in what he does. There are some problems for me. First of all, Keith Lee feels like the ultimate transitional champion because of this. That's not a problem per se, because I think Karrion Kross had to win with the way he was built. He's been on this trajectory pretty much since he completely decimated Ciampa in your house. But I do feel that Keith Lee comes out of this looking... not weak or anything, but I just think, what was the point of putting the belt on Lee? It feels to me like the belt had to go on Lee so that it looked more legitimate for Karrion Kross to win it, because Karrion Kross would have physically should have ran over Adam Cole, really, if it had led to that. And also, Adam Cole has only really just turned babyface for this rivalry, and we don't know whether that's going to be sustained or continue going forward. So a little bit murky, and I'm a little bit disappointed with the overall run of Keith Lee as champion, because I was so into Adam Cole as champion, and they made such a big deal about the fact that he was champion for a year and a half, and he got dethroned by Keith Lee. And then, next title defense, boom, you're out of here. Oh, okay. Major title defense on a major pay-per-view. Okay, fair enough. I'll let it slide because I love Karrion Kross. But the second thing that will upset quite a few people, I thought this match was pretty poor. I actually thought this match wasn't very good. The content was great. The psychology was amazing. I thought Scarlett Bordeaux at ringside was the star of this whole match. Her facial expressions, her cadence towards Karrion Kross, the way she was winning him to rise, the way she was almost abusing him during the title victory was very cool as well, like just outpouring of emotion, because you knew deep down inside, this is a moment that he's deserved that maybe he felt he wasn't going to get. Or maybe he believed in himself, and this was finally his kind of, I'm talking from a shoot perspective, this was clearly something that he deserved and that he has earned. And you could see that in both of their faces. And obviously he can't kind of just burst into tears or break down in emotion because of his character. And obviously he's so professional and so good at what he does that he wouldn't do that. But you could see a little bit of that in Scarlett as well, looking at him and say, this is your moment. This is the moment that you've worked for. This is the moment that we as a pairing have deserved. We bet on ourselves. We walked away from Impact, and here we are, and we have delivered in the way we said we would. That being said, I thought the match was quite botchy. And it wasn't terrible by any means, but I thought it was quite poor for their standard. I thought there were a lot of mistakes made. There were a lot of spots that were missed. You could see there were a lot of moments where they were like, oh shit, or, miscommunication. He'd go for a move and he'd be like, oh shit, what do we do? And there was a lot of delays, kind of like watching an old Divas match in that respect. Not saying it was that level, obviously it wasn't, but the same problem with communication. For me, I got the impression it was two guys who were world-class that just didn't mesh that well. And when it came down to it, the match itself didn't deliver quality-wise, and that's my problem. I get it, and I know a lot of people right now are like, are you fucking serious? What the fuck are you talking about? I'll tell you why, because I am very much into the athletic side of wrestling. I like the combat style of it, and I felt that their match didn't deliver that. It told a great story, psychology-wise, but the actual wrestling and the, shall we say, the execution of the moves in the ring left a lot to be desired for me. That was probably my biggest disappointment. However, the promo package was incredible. The psychology was amazing. Scarlett Bordeaux was world-class at ringside. I loved the idea that Keith Lee kind of was the first man who could really push Karrion Kross and his boundaries, and ultimately does reach his limits. He's not limitless because Karrion Kross knocks him off and becomes champion. It's very cool. Very excited to see what's going forward. Just would have liked the match to, hold up. For instance, when you look back at all the all-time great wrestling matches, the all-time great title matches, Bret and Austin always comes to mind for me. Austin versus Rock at WrestleMania 17, multiple matches with The Undertaker, even some of the matches Adam Cole had, Johnny Gargano, Andrade, all these different matches. The match itself, for me, was always on a par with the incredible stories and the incredible moments that they gave you as well. This match wasn't for me. I felt like the match itself actually was quite poor, and I'm willing to bet if you cornered both of these guys, which would be very difficult, it has to be said, and asked them, do you think you guys could deliver a much better match? I reckon they probably would say so. I reckon if they would give it a go-over, they could deliver something much, much better from a physical standpoint. That aside, everything else was fantastic, and my lord, who the fuck knocks off Karrion Kross? Because Keith Lee ran over Adam Cole, so to speak. Who takes out Karrion Kross? Right now, I'm looking at that roster, I'm thinking, no one's got a fucking chance. No one gets near to him. So it'd be interesting to see what they do or who they build to contend with him next. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a rematch. Maybe Keith Lee gets another crack at him. That's not a problem either. Would like to see those guys get another crack at it because I reckon their rematch will be tenfold better from an athletic standpoint. But yeah, really good. And overall, for me, NXT TakeOver, very entertaining, a good watch. Once again, super short. What was it, 2 hours 20, something like that? Perfect. So
maybe
good.
2.5.
You never get exhausted. You never get exhausted watching this. You never think, oh, Jesus Christ, oh yeah, we still got the main event to go. You never feel that way. And to be fair to WWE as a whole, they've been doing that with their main roster pay-per-views as well. I remember we watched Money in the Bank and we were like, what? It's only 2:20 in the morning. What's going on? They've been going for quality over quantity quite a lot more lately. And it's probably one good things you could probably say about the pandemic is the fact that it's kind of forced them to just put the quality out there more and not focus so much on the undercard and nonsense around it, just giving us the high quality matchups. Each match delivered well. For me, this wasn't actually nearly close to my favourite NXT takeover. I loved it. I enjoyed it. From start to finish, I was engrossed and had a good time, but it wasn't like top 5, maybe not even top 10 for me. And I think that speaks volumes about how good Takeover is, because this pay-per-view is still one of the best things you'll see all year. So, it speaks volumes about that. But we got SummerSlam tomorrow, which oddly I'm very excited about. I thought this was overall very good. So before we get to the interactions, mate, your final thoughts and opinions on this match and overall what you saw tonight.
I think if I watched it again tomorrow, I would possibly see where you're coming from, because right now I still see it as this incredible spectacle, but maybe it is just because I got pulled in by the build and the video packages. I just saw it as really...
That just shows that you're less cynical than me, so that's not necessarily a bad thing at all.
That's fair. But I really, really enjoyed it. But I bet if I went back, like I said, and watched it again, maybe I could pick up on a few of those things. But when I just watched it tonight, I was just on the edge of my couch, just like, man, this is so fucking cool. I mean, Karrion Kross got off when Keith Lee knocked some plexiglass off. That was so cool. But this match in general was just really, really, really fun. We now have Karrion Kross as NXT champion, and you're right. You look over this roster, and no one. I don't see a single person on that roster that would stand up to him. Give me a rematch, on an NXT, that's fine. And then, what? Are you just gonna let Finn Balor go after him? Ooh, I would not care about that. Yeah, right? Wouldn't that just be awful? The match would probably be good, but
no.
I don't care.
Bronson Reed, give him a go. Give Bronson Reed a go. He'll probably
give him another Hoss.
He's got to have Hosses. I don't think... Maybe Adam Cole, with all of the Undisputed Era's faces, could have a good crack at him, because there would be all that outside shenanigans, but ultimately it would just kind of make him look more face, wouldn't it? That's the problem, if you throw more than one guy at him. So I imagine the best way to get the belt away from him will probably be in a triple threat or a fatal four-way scenario, something where, you don't have to sacrifice him or get him pinned, because it's probably going to be a monumental thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Ciampa comes back and has another go at him as well, because obviously Ciampa's got the built-in rivalry and the built-in storyline of what he did to him originally. Maybe he comes back even more vicious, more aggressive, with a different mindset to try and knock him off. Ultimately, Karrion Kross will probably overcome that. But you never know who they're going to sign as well. Timothy Thatcher, I mean, he's definitely got the size and the ferocity to ground someone like Karrion Kross. Maybe they can build him the right way, but they got plenty of time to do it. That's the great thing about things, especially when you haven't got to take over every month. You don't have to go crazy and throw everything at people, relentlessly. Sometimes you can just have this slow burn, this slow build, and build your stars the right way. And I think that's probably why NXT is always so successful, is because they take their time and they give their performers enough time to build themselves correctly in the right way.
But they always lose to AEW in the ratings war, so they must be doing something wrong.
I think Keith Lee's rubbish because he doesn't do a 645,000 splash. So shut up. That's just them in a nutshell, isn't it, really? By the way, before I get fucking grief from people, I actually love AEW too. I watch all wrestling. I enjoy it. I'm not one of these people who's like, I only play Xbox. I hate PlayStation. They all do great things for so many different people. Just enjoy what you enjoy, you sweaty cretins. Let's see what our fans enjoyed. Two people that I genuinely wanted to give a shout out to. First of all, my good brother, the Louisiana man, Jeremy. Man, wow. He says, great ladder match. Kross has the best entrance in wrestling right now. Adam Cole is a pure legend. Pat McAfee is a natural born heel. Hell yeah, Kross is the new champion, clean in the middle. Bet Vince didn't book that. You're fucking right, he didn't, son. I just want to give a shout out to Jerry, because he's been so interactive with our Twitter account when not too many people do chat with us on there anymore. That's kind of semi our fault, and other people we're just not tweeting as much content because we don't have time, pandemic and all. But he's always there. He's always chatting away. He's a fantastic man. He's very cool. An incredible fountain of knowledge when it comes to wrestling. Really excited about having Jerry on, actually, as a surprise guest soon, to chat about the old NWA days, the Mid-South, the territories and things like that. He's got a fountain of knowledge and stories that will really blow your mind as to what wrestling was really like. I know a lot of people hate Jim Cornette because they're like, oh, he's a piece of shit, he's racist and all these things. And yeah, Jim Cornette says some horrible things, but if you ever listen to Jim Cornette, you'll know that he does have an extensive and incredible knowledge of old school wrestling. And that's the great thing about Jerry. He's kind of like the good Jim Cornette in that respect, a nice Jim Cornette. So I'm really excited about having him on. I just wanted to give him a shout out. Give him a follow at JERJ Manuel MANUEL 68. That's at JERJ Manuel 68. Search for Louisiana Man and you'll find him as well. Lovely guy, really high quality human being, always got interactions, so thank you for sending those in. And our other interactions come from the lovely at Rawsome, and is Trish, for anyone who doesn't know. I'm surprised at the quality of McAfee versus Cole. I really enjoyed it in the end. The women's match was brilliant, but I expected that from them. Definitely my match of the night, though. Love how they're already building up to something else, but keeping it ominous as it could be a feud with Gonzalez and Ripley. But she also had her eyes on Io Shirai. Already looking forward to seeing what's next. Unsurprising that Trish would obviously chat about women's wrestling because she just knows her shit. She's someone else that I wanted to send a lot of love and appreciation to. Somebody who supported the podcast, somebody who's quite happy to stick her neck out and have her opinions. She's always honest to herself, and she's also an incredible artist. And as somebody who does a lot of art myself, someone who's really passionate about being creative, I really love and respect that. And I know that Trish will probably be embarrassed for me mentioning this, but like there's been quite a few times I've noticed, on social media where people have created their own narratives and their own stupidity and idiocy about what they think of people and, whatever that might be. I'm not going to air dirty laundry on the podcast, but one thing I will say is that Trish is an incredibly cool, incredibly kind, incredibly honest human being and a really good friend, somebody that I respect a great deal. And obviously, it helps that she fancies Carl Wilkinson a great deal. Oh, sorry, I wasn't meant to mention that. But, I mean, who doesn't? Just look at him. He's a specimen. But yeah, she's just been fucking awesome. So at Rawsome, and if you've got any needs, graphic designs, particularly if you want anything of the more animated kind of style when it comes to drawings or paintings or anything like that, she's the person you want to be speaking to. Don't get me wrong, at Aeron Design, which is my Instagram, I do a lot of commissions, a lot of work, and obviously I want as much work as possible to keep me going as an independent artist. But honestly, she's the person you want to be talking to first when it comes to anything comic based. I believe the term is kawaii. Excuse me if I butchered that. But yeah, just fucking awesome. Really cool human being. Both of them are. And to be honest, all our fans are. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We will be back tomorrow. Or today, which is probably when you're listening to this. Or maybe yesterday, because you're listening to this on Monday. Or the day before yesterday, because you're listening to this on Tuesday. Either way, we will be covering WWE SummerSlam. You know why? Because you'll never see it coming. Carl Wilkinson, you're going to come back to discuss WWE SummerSlam?
I will, obviously. I mean, I have loved being on this show. It's so much fun talking about wrestling with my boy.
Your boy!
SummerSlam, honestly, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I don't know if it'll be necessarily, like, air quotes, as good in ring quality as takeovers, because let's be fair, usually they aren't. But I'm fucking excited to see Dominic Mysterio. Fucking, 15 years ago, he was just a little boy with his fake dad fighting his real dad or something. The whole custody of Dominic and the ladder match thing, if we all remember that. Oh, WWE was silly, wasn't it? But now he's all grown up and he's going to fight one of, I mean, we might not love him. We might
Joseph
hate him.
Seed.
Oh, that's right. He's going to be fighting the father, and I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I'm scared. Like, I'm worried that Dominic might die. I'm really worried about that. So, But yeah, no, honestly, super excited, super thrilled that you still come back on the podcast. I really enjoy watching wrestling with you. I really enjoy talking about it on you. So with you, it's an absolute fucking pleasure to have you on the podcast, mate. It really is. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, SummerSlam, decent card. I'm actually excited about it. And, you know, is it going to be as good in ring quality like Carl says? Probably not. But that's kind of not what SummerSlam's about. That's not what WWE pay-per-views after NXT pay-per-views are about. The idea is that they cater to a more all-encompassing environment. And this, you know, this tagline of "you'll never see it coming," I reckon they're going to do something fucking crazy. I reckon something crazy and something violent and something ridiculous is going to happen. I think we're going to get new champions. And don't forget, SummerSlam is traditionally their second biggest pay-per-view of the year after WrestleMania. And obviously where, you know, WrestleMania kind of didn't have that WrestleMania-esque feel because it wasn't in a huge stadium with a huge production. They've now got the Thunderdome. And for me, I'm excited. I like the premise of the Thunderdome. I'm quite positive about the direction of wrestling in general right now. And I know it's difficult for people to watch it and get behind it as much when there isn't that fan base. I know you, in particular, Carl, haven't enjoyed it as much and haven't really consumed wrestling as much because, hey, you know, newsflash, got a life and life gets in the way and life has to fucking take priority. But I'm excited and I have really enjoyed WWE in particular lately. I think they have been really doing a lot of great things, some really exciting stuff. And even the stuff that I thought was going to be trash, like Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy, you know, it delivered in a certain aspect. So I'm looking forward to SummerSlam. I'm really looking forward to watching it with my brothers, of course, especially yourself. If anyone's listening to this before SummerSlam airs, I will have an Xbox Live party open. And just to remind you, you don't need an Xbox to join an Xbox Live party. All you need to do is download the app. You can sign up for a free account. You can use your own email. It literally takes a minute or so. And then you just have, you know, pick a tag, a name, you know, a username. Let us know what it is and we'll invite you into the party. It's literally as simple as that. If you have any problems with it, technically, you can contact me or Carl on the Twitter, on the Instagram, wherever it may be, at WrestlePlug, at xcarl_Wilkinson, because he's so edgy. And we will help you through the process. It's really easy. Our lovely sister, Astrid, she was able to sort it out, so I'm sure you guys can too. But if you want to join us to watch it live, you're more than welcome to help escape whatever difficulties or even happiness you have. Whatever. The option's there for you guys. But yeah, SummerSlam tomorrow. Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for joining us to discuss Takeover 30. 30 of the big ones.
Thanks for having me, buddy. And now let's get ready for the biggest party of the summer that we're never gonna see coming.
The biggest party of the summer, and the rain has just started in England as well, so thank God it's not at Wembley. But yeah, but it will be inside the Thunderdome. If Mel Gibson doesn't come out fully dressed as Mad Max and assault Braun Strowman, I will consider this whole weekend a failure, so get cracking, Vince. Although he is quite anti-Semitic, so probably best that you keep any Jewish wrestlers, you know, backstage for that segment. Anyway, yeah. SummerSlam, it will happen. We will review it, and we will also discuss everything that happened on AEW Dynamite on the State of Wrestling address, which will drop later this week. We also have 2 interviews dropping this week. David Francisco, the Portuguese superstar, one of Britain's best and most exciting and promising independent talents. You know, if you know Brit Rest, you know David Francisco. And big surprise for you guys that I can announce. You might have seen it on my Facebook. Ebenezer the Geezer actually came to my house, WrestlePlug Towers, and spoke with me about his career so far. And he had some really hot takes and some controversial opinions on the state of wrestling right now, and also the state of what he sees wrestling going forward. An absolutely exciting chat. Ebenezer is genuinely family to me. I love that man. He's genuinely like a brother to me. Really excited for you guys to listen to that too, because that is legitimately must listen material. It really is. It's going to be controversial. It's going to upset a few people. But one thing I love about Ebenezer is he tells you what he feels and he speaks directly from his heart, just like we do at the WrestlePlug. Until tomorrow, until the WWE SummerSlam review, I hope you've enjoyed our chat about NXT TakeOver. Check out all our social media channels, buy a t-shirt if you've got some free money, contact me if you need a commission, if you want a cheeky drawing done for a ridiculously cheap price, let me know. Other than that, look after yourselves and we'll catch you very soon, very, very soon, for more content from the WrestlePlug.